Welcome to the third episode of the Cassettins Creation. I'm your host, Chris Deering, and this is the show where I interview bands and public figures from the mathcore community. If you beautiful people in chat have any questions or comments, I'll try my best to read them aloud. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this in your car and have no idea what I'm talking about, the show is first recorded live on Twitch, and you can join us every Sunday at twitch.tv/thecassettinscreation for the live cast. Shirts are in for the Sound That Ends Creation. They are beautiful, super soft. Pictures at soundthatenscreation.bandcamp.com. With all that out of the way, let me introduce our guest, Needle Play. Oh, and it didn't work. Hold on. Okay, there we go. Needle Play. Nice to have you guys. How are y'all doing? Oh, I definitely have y'all muted. I am so sorry. Okay, so you were explaining the name. I'm sorry.
No worries, man. Anyway, yeah, so I saw this display of people sticking needles in their skin and creating these like super intricate patterns. And it was sort of like, I want to make the music equivalent of this, where it's like very intricate and crazy, and but also like very sentimental and like powerful and sort of like grotesque, but also beautiful. And I had that name like in my back pocket for years. And then when we were starting to make, Keith and I were trying to start like something a bit more aggressive and just like more ambitious than the sort of singer-songwriter stuff we were doing before. And so I was just like, oh, Needle Play, that's the name. I didn't even look up if it had been taken in. Like, no one's going to listen to it anyway. But we ended up going. There is another Needle Play band. They're way better than that. Yeah. They're like good dad rock.
The good Needle Play.
I want to echo off Tony a little bit and maybe suck his dick a little, in the sense that, Tony really was like, a founder of this, and he really does most of the work here. The kind of stuff that he writes really is representative of like his vision, I would say, of like, this imagery of like, people sticking needles in their bodies, but yet out of it comes something really beautiful. And I think like in the kinds of things he writes and in the way that he talks about art, it's almost an ode to the idea that like, although certain things are painful and even torturous, out of it can come something really beautiful. And in that context, it can be infinitely more cathartic than if it were just presented as it were. That makes sense.
Damn, dude, that's deep.
I agree with it. Yeah, no. I didn't know you liked this music. But no, I mean, like Needle Play, like our music is like not very easy to listen to. I was just showing my dad one of our songs yesterday, and we just see him like, oh, that's great, as he's like turning down the dial. Like you listen to like Steely Dan or something, and it is like super painful because
like, can't you guys do like some Bob Seger or something? Like, come on,
play Freebird.
Yeah, but I guess that's like sort of like the art form. We didn't want to be apologetic, and we just sort of go with the most grotesque sound that we can and use chords that like should never be stacked on top of each other. I mean, your music's a lot like that. It's very, very like very harsh chords, Chris. I was listening to earlier today, like, yeah. And I love that because there's so many cool ideas that can come from that if you sort of abandon like conventional functionality and tonality. And you also like have to train your ear for it, where I've been listening to enough, crazy freeform jazz and like mathcore that when I hear your music, I'm like, oh, okay, this is awesome. Whereas like if I were to listen to it like 10 years ago when my ear wasn't trained, I would have been like, oh, this is like unlistenable. But
I'm the same way, man. I remember growing up in high school when this was all happening. I just would not listen to it at all, man. I was strict metal elitist and just had no idea what to make of this.
Stuff. No, I was like a jazz elitist. I was like anyone who screams or uses distortion. They're like phonies, and then
Dillinger, man.
He showed me Dillinger and like Converge, and I was like, oh man,
dude, I will never forget when I first met Tony. He was like, you know, like blue jeans, sneakers. What?
That in public. Oh, this is that other one. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
No, not the basement scene. Like after that.
Yeah.
When I met you when I was conscious. But oh shit, we're live.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, he just looked like this regular dude with like a leather jacket and jeans, and he was talking about his hardcore band. And this was before I joined the band. But I was like, wow, man, and he's got like a good job at Siemens Corporation. Like, I can't wait for this guy to show me his like $3,000 Mesa half stack and play 3 chords on it. And then I go to their show and he's got a Squier Telly with a crate amp, and he's playing the most complicated, noodly, like jazzcore shit. And immediately I'm like, I want to be in this band now.
Yeah, no, dude. To reciprocate on the dick sucking, like Tyler just came on as a vocalist, and like he has the exact type of vocals that like we were looking for. Yeah. I couldn't really articulate it. And he sent us this like demo thing, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like this is exactly what we're looking for. But we were in like early practices with him, and I was like trying to get something on the guitar, and I didn't even know that Tyler owned a guitar. And then he comes up to me, he's like, why don't you play it like this? And then he just starts doing this like crazy noodly shit. I'm like, you're saying that guitar, like, why are you our front man? But yeah.
It was the first band I'd ever been in as a front man. I've always done like guitar or bass. It was very interesting, like having accrued knowledge in the instrumental side of things for so long, having to come at it from a completely different approach. Like I had never cared about vocals in a band in any sense before. Like I never listened, like I would listen to bands like, don't make fun of me, but August Burns Red and like progressive metal bands of that vein. And I would like, when they came out with instrumental versions, I'm like, fuck it, I want to do that. I could care less about the vocalist. So then having to be like, I want to be a vocalist, and just having to take a completely backwards approach to how I thought about music was it was interesting to say the least. Definitely a challenge.
It helps, like if you're going to be a vocalist for a band that has a lot of like changes and stuff and like weird, syncopations and shit. It's super helpful if you yourself have some sort of instrumental background, because like that was the problem when we started out. We had like a lot of vocalists auditioning that like, had a really good feel in 4/4, but the moment we deviated from it, they like had no idea what was going on, because you just need to adapt to it. It's not like quantum mechanics, but it takes like a year to really get that.
Yeah, you can't just jump into it.
Unlearn 4/4 and start thinking basically in like 1/4.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really, and I never think about time signatures in the way that like musicians would. I don't think I'm much of a musician. I just think like, oh, it's 1/4 until 3 beats later, and then we change tempo.
That's the only way you can do it. Really. That is
that's
like
how you write everything.
Yeah.
The time
it's so much harder if you're like, oh, it's 3 measures of 13/8, and
you just
it's like 2.
Like I don't count. Like we have one part that's in 17/16, but I'm not gonna count all the way to 17. That makes no sense. Like we count it as 1 2 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3. That's how you count it. You don't count 17 beats.
Yeah.
It's like cramming a bunch of like different songs into one song. It's like all of the elements of different pace, different measures, different.
It's weird. Like you always try and assume that music is like formulaic, or that it like ties together or like recalls back, and like our music sort of does that, but at the same time, like it like is intentionally trying to like push against whatever your expectations are, which I think
like that we were so like our first album was sort of like all over the map in terms of like what we wanted to do. It was it wasn't really like so much of a concept album as it was just like a splatter pattern of like everything, just a bunch of songs we put together. But Death by Dying, we wanted it to be like really discursive and non-repetitive, to sort of like on purpose to, I don't know, sort of mimic like this internet-ridden life that we have, where you have just so much information bombarded at you at once, and then there's like so many nuances with every single piece of information that you obtain, and there's an infinite amount of angles that you can take, and it just becomes so, detrimental to your sanity. You just cannot really, nothing is real, and it's because there's like too much detail, and that's like what we're trying to do with Death by Dying. That's like a big reason why it seems like absurd. We'll go like part.
Call the instrumental version Death by Detail.
Yeah, exactly. And that was like a more straightforward, like.
So why release an instrumental version? I was wondering about that.
That's kind of my.
No, it's a totally different, like.
They were just really mad at me.
Yeah, we just
get this guy out of here.
It was a passive aggressive. We're stealing more body wash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't text Heath back for like 2 days because I was busy, and he was like, "Oh, fuck this guy."
I used to listen to instrumentals growing up from like a lot of like Deftones and stuff. They would release like instrumentals years later after they released something, and I always thought that was pretty cool. And like you can kind of like focus more on just like how the instrumentals were built rather than just all of it together.
And also we have like a lot of like jazzy friends who don't listen to anything if they're screaming. So like we kind of wanted them to like hear this, but listen to it like, all the way through, because like I fucking love Tyler's vocals.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not gonna listen to the instrumental version because I want like the full thing. But a lot of people, they haven't trained their brain to sort of appreciate any sort of aestheticism with screaming, so it just sounds horrible to them, and they can't appreciate anything.
Whereas, funny that you mentioned that. I was like talking to Jess, my ex-girlfriend, who she was thanking me for getting her into this kind of music, because this is all she listens to now. And she's like, the way you did it, I believe, is because I used to take car rides all the time, and I just play instrumental because I'm crazy. I just play like instrumental versions of songs, music that I like. It's like all different types of bands, electronic, like math rock, stuff like that. And she was like, yeah, that actually really, interestingly enough, really got me to appreciate instrumental, which made me appreciate all the music, and now listen to all the vocals and.
No, that's totally true. Like a lot of you similarly got me into this, because I would just listen to instrumentals, and then I would hear like really math rock, math core instrumentals, and it was like really interesting. But I was like, I just can't get past the screaming. But eventually it sort of all clicked, and I wouldn't have given it a chance had I not been initially attracted to the instrumentals themselves. So I think it does help people get into this kind of music. It helps, like, because I think a lot of like extreme niche metal is all about like setting up, having like your sort of niche territory and being like, no outsiders allowed. Like if you're not 100% consistent with like this subculture requirements, then like you can't like listen to this type of music. And like I fucking hate that. Like I love introducing.
That's been a thing amongst like all genres of music.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Once it becomes like a tribal thing, and there's now like tribal knowledge along with the kind of music that you put out, that's like really like you made it. You now have like a unique following of people. And
Did you come up with tribal knowledge? I fucking like that. That's a good.
That's like band name.
Is it?
Probably.
Is that? You just come up with that, Tyler? I like that. It's
Yeah.
true, man. Like it's like that esoteric knowledge that gives you a leg up over everyone else, but it's like completely arbitrary.
Yeah, it's like I've heard of this band that you haven't heard of, so therefore I'm better than you. You don't need to know that this band actually sucks.
Yeah. But
or that I just made up this band on the spot.
yeah, honestly. But yeah. So I guess it's to make it like more accessible, which I think is not necessarily a bad thing.
Well, yeah, it's not hurting anything to get that out there, you know? And if it reaches more people, you know? What do your jazz friends think of it?
They fucking hate it. They're like, this is unlistenable garbage.
That must be so heartbreaking.
No, like, they like, one of my friends, like, well, he really likes the jazz parts, and then as soon as even, like, distorted guitar comes on, he's like, oh, yeah, it's too. But we try. I mean,
It's weird. Like,
people do honestly like it, or they're just appeasing me, which is fine too. I'll take it.
Yeah.
More people listen to it.
These pants make my butt look big? No. Yeah. I know you're lying, but I'll take it.
Yeah, we had some like SoundCloud rap guys. Like, remember that they were like shitting on our. They were like, you know, giving us like death threats. Yeah. I don't know why that was. But yeah, but Heath is like, please tell everyone that you know about our band and how horrible we are.
Yeah, just spread the word about how to listen. I want you. Yeah,
I don't care if they like it.
That doesn't sound like every band that you know.
We do suck.
We just,
So on your Bandcamp, Heath is credited with mixing and mastering the whole EP. You guys have such an eclectic sound. Everything from intense math grind to odd electronic music, beautiful clean passages, dotted with horns, and I believe that's a flute on Cambridge. On top of all that, you got lots of interesting panning. Putting all this together had to be intense. Like, as someone that's mixed things before, like, I mean, the mixing and mastering process took me like a month for my newest album that's about to come out. So like, I can only imagine how much shit you had to go through for that.
Oh yeah, it was a headache, but I mean, it was definitely better than what I pictured Cool Spring to be. I mean, thankfully, I had nothing really. I did have a little to do with it, but
yeah,
we were definitely able to expedite the process with Heath. We got like a 100 pack of whipped cream cartridges with like an empty whipped cream thing. The kids call them whippets, but you know, anytime he got tired, he would just have one of those. And weirdly enough, like the oxygen depletion from his brain would like give him like a second wind, you know?
Yeah.
Seems effective.
Yeah.
Wow.
And also, Tony was holding a gun to his head the whole time, so he got it done in 24 hours flat.
Usually usually that is the case, but I feel like I was like by myself. I would just be by myself in the studio, blaring, like literally just ruining my eardrums.
Yeah,
and then
it's just so loud.
I know, but I go down. I like to shift off from like really loud to like really quiet, and just try to like hear every nuance and every panning was actually the most interesting part of the album, because what I tried to do was, instead of traditional panning where you have like one guitar left, one guitar right, whatever. I tried mixing it in a way where it would be like you're sitting in at a stage, like a stadium, and you're listening to like what do you call it?
Orchestra.
An orchestra, yeah. I don't know words.
Words suck.
Word bad.
Yeah. So that's like how I panned it. I panned it as if like flutes and everything that were in it, mostly on the left side. The keyboard on the right side, and then some of the guitar more on the left, and then the leads and solos would be like a little bit on the right, but not too much on the right, and then drums completely panned like how they naturally would be if you were like watching it from the stage. And then I just kind of went from there.
Well, it sounds way better, like production wise, than your last one does. Like, you just blew it out, man. It's so much clearer. And, oh my god, it's so good. It's so good.
Chris, you use piano because I heard definitely piano.
Yeah, you had some arpeggios and some of your
stuff. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to play piano. It's all programmed. But yeah, that's in there.
It's more about that piano sound is actually really difficult to mix.
100%, man. Oh my god, that's like the biggest problem is trying to mix all this stuff together.
And every song, like certainly with Cruel Spring, every song had piano on it.
Couldn't really hear it.
And it was like, do you make it low so it doesn't interfere, but now you can't hear the piano? What's the point of it? Or do you like put it in the forefront so it becomes piano driven? It's so hard to get something between those. And like, it was same with those flutes. Because like that song Salem, which is all pretty much distorted, there are flute and clarinets on like every measure.
Yeah.
most of them we had to like turn them down so they're almost indistinguishable.
Yeah.
Just because if you put it in the forefront, it would like completely change the song. And, like,
I was even thinking about almost like having 2 versions of the EP, but I mean, I didn't decide to go that way. And also, it's really an album that you have to listen to on full hi-fi speakers. You can't.
We should release a vinyl, guys.
Yeah, we should have all speakers and monitors.
Just give them away. You get a monitor. You get it.
I think like for Death by Dying, like it was much easier to integrate parts that like gave respect to like the pianos and the clarinets, because like with Cruel Spring, we had Jonathan join the band like in the middle of the recording process for Cruel Spring, and then like add pianos over all the songs we wrote. Whereas like this one, we like wrote every song, or really Tony wrote every song with like potential for piano and flutes and clarinets coming in mind, so that he could like kind of make space for it almost.
It was nice to sit down and have everything recorded and just ready to kind of jump in and make it happen.
No, and like they're saying, Tyler's mentioning that like I write everything, which is not true. No, it's not true. I just set up all the like initial ideas and then I give it to them, and then they do all their. I could not write this album by myself at all.
Well, that was something I was going to ask, like the writing process. Like, you guys just bring pieces together, or is somebody mainly driving it all?
He's very modest. He'll write like a draft of like 1 million songs every week, like full guitar parts, and he's like, "Hey, you guys want to use this? Oh, maybe we could use this 5 minutes."
The man is truly brilliant.
30-track album.
Yeah.
Well, but no, I mean, like, I'll have something, and like certainly now I'm working like with Jonathan and like with Tyler a lot too, like, and trying to get. When Tyler and Jonathan joined, I had already written like more than Cruel Spring. Like I had like 30 songs that I wanted to use, so it was tough for them to have their input because I'd been working on it for. I was like obsessively, that album in a way like kind of saved my sanity because it was like at the worst point in my life, and I just focused on like I'm just gonna write a new song like every other night, and I'm gonna do all these different guitar techniques and get better, and like I just worked like 4 hours a night on this album.
This Cruel Spring.
Yeah. And I had just so much music that was impossible to put into one album, and it like 19 tracks was like that was me like settling, and it's not because I'm like even a workhorse, but it's like I needed something to just occupy my mind, or I was gonna go insane at this point. So anyway, like I had given them an overwhelming amount of work just to learn, and then it's like it was really tough for them to put their own 2 cents into that and their own inputs, but they still did. Like, Quick Beheading, Jonathan wrote a large portion of that, like the good portion, and that's arguably my favorite song that we do.
Bill Ricca.
Bill Ricca. No, Jonathan did a lot. Tyler did a ton in Cruel Spring, and like
involved.
We're trying to get it more involved in like this next album because I've depleted all my like obsessive song archives. It's like now we can kind of like come together and actually like write as a band because there's like pros and cons for each process. But I would say like it's good to have someone who just like fuels or fans the fire and like gives you all this fuel and ammunition, and then to have the other people craft it for you. Have everyone have completely equal quantity of inputs, because it's just you'll be completely paralyzed by that. You won't be able to get anywhere. And
it's like Tony's a big juicy hunk of like prime steak, right? Stay with me. He's tender, he's delicious, and he has so much promise as long as you don't overcook him. If you overcook your steaks, I swear to God, you deserve to go to hell. Anyways, and we're like the salt, in the heat, right? I'll be I am the salt that sprinkles myself on top of Tony and tenderizes him.
Yeah.
Right? I will tenderize Tony, and then Heath and Jonathan and the rest of the band are the heat that steams Tony up and turns him into a delicious masterpiece.
It's fucking metal. But yeah, I would agree.
This band is one steamy amalgamation of Tony's beautiful man meat, is what I'm trying to get at. Anyways, does anyone want a hit of this?
Yes. Oh wait. God, you're virtual. This is real.
Life is.
So did y'all end up renting out a studio for your EP, or did y'all just do it at your house?
No, we like kind of have a studio that we have or like practice space where we set up all our stuff.
Yeah, all the
tasty.
Yeah,
and we like rent it out with another band. That was huge, actually. That's the reason why we were able to do this during COVID.
Yeah, we would have never.
Nothing's open, but we already had this piece, and we were already living together. So we're not going to expose ourselves to any new pathogens. So we were able to like utilize that space, and we had a lot of time off of work, so we were able to like actually focus on that.
Thank God we
weren't playing COD
because I was playing COD.
We had to get at least 12 hours of COD in before we would go work on it.
I think I played more Call of Duty than anyone else in that house.
You?
Oh yeah.
I don't play anything.
I went cool. As soon as you left, I took over.
Like new music.
I played way too much COD.
Dude, this weed tastes like straight chocolate. It's amazing.
All I did is I played COD, and then I go to the studio and mix Death by Dying. And then I went to work and like did other things. I'm not gonna say in public, but
like stealing people's credit card information. I'm not gonna tell you that.
I robbed the bank.
Yeah.
I burnt a church or two. That's all stuff.
So what happened with the release? Because I think I remember buying it in April or something, and it was like released, but it wasn't. I couldn't get all the tracks. What ended up happening?
So because of, luckily, like you said, with COVID, just thank God we got that space beforehand when all the stuff went down.
Yeah.
Because then we were able to just kind of have a designated spot to just be like, okay, let's go in and just put stuff together. Honestly, if we didn't, the drum, I don't know if the album came out, probably would have been an album with just MIDI drums.
Yeah.
If we were forced to do it at home, but
no, a lot of, to answer your question, Chris, a lot of like what we wanted to get Jonathan in on it, because originally he wasn't going to be in on it, but he had his exam, and so he was like, let me just finish, because he was in school while we were doing this, and he was like, I'd love to be on this, but I have my exams until I think it was like May, and we were like, all right, we'll wait for you. And because originally we had everything sort of set up and we were going to release it, but to be fair, it was like much poorer quality, like not as we didn't have as much like composition. It was just going to be like a couple tracks, like a couple short tracks, and then we ended up waiting for Jonathan and writing songs, remixing them and stuff, and
changed a lot of things.
Yeah, so I don't know. I didn't realize it was like. I didn't realize we could even like set a date. I think that was a bit of a mistake on our part, but
yeah, we definitely like took a lot from like the learning curve of making Cool Spring, and I think like after all was said and done, I think we still did a pretty good job on like the pacing and like the execution of the release.
Yeah, no, Cruel Spring, we did rent a studio out for that. And it was like, it sucked not because of the person we were working with, but because like we were just like hemorrhaging money, and we kept having and like I was like obsessed with getting like all 19 tracks. Because I just like, and we had things that like set us back, and it ended up costing a lot more than we had originally budgeted. So it was a real pain in the ass, and just like we lost files. We lost like a ton of files one day.
Oh shit! Really?
podcast.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. I wanted to cry. It was
There's some bad moments. There's some angry moments.
But like, I am happy that album got out, even if it's not like the same sonic quality that we would have had if we had taken more time. But it was like it captured like a lot of what we were feeling at that time and sort of like crystallized it. And a lot of what we were feeling at that time was like very negative emotions. So the almost poor quality, like, sort of is reference to that. Or like, I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm just retrospectively, not like
We felt like shit, so we made shit.
yeah, exactly.
Speaking of shit, I just ran into Jay Moss today, actually.
Nice.
Wait, he's back in
On
Boston?
Tinder.
On Tinder?
Yeah, that too. He had literally just gotten back. He's like, yeah, I just came back here today, so it's kind of surreal seeing you. But hey, man, how have you been? I'm like,
He's so upset. He's like,
I was just
one
hanging
day,
out with Cheeto Moreno.
This asshole was found me the first day.
yeah. He's like, already wish I. Yeah, I was like, oh, hey, what's up? Yeah, I've been good. Got a new job. Tried that butt stuff you were telling me to do. Thank you for the recommendation. I have never come harder. Hey,
Butt stuff is another huge influence in our
song.
yeah, exactly.
Because it's diarrhea.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, no, a lot of Cruel Spring was like bottled up sexual frustration for sure.
Yeah. I don't know how bottled up Tyler's sexual frustration. It's just everywhere.
It's bottled for me. It's bottled up. It's my idea of bottled up.
You just gotta be sexually free, man.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, if I want to walk into J Max with my dick out, that's my constitutional right.
I don't think you should.
I agree with Tyler.
So let's go over your rigs. What are you guys using?
So that whole album was like just
Great transition.
I used like three plugins, like literally on that album.
I use a distortion pedal.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called. But
no,
that's a huge point of conflict or tension in this band. Where like Steve, who's not here, is like a huge gear guy, and so is Tyler. Tyler worked at Guitar Center for a while, and it was like one of the guys who's like, "Oh, I can help you out," and then sells you something that you cannot afford, and you're in like $100 of debt, and your wife is divorcing you. But
dude, legit, it was detrimental to my conscience and
Yeah.
karma. I definitely have some people who want to stab me.
yeah, on this call.
Yeah.
But Tyler's like always trying to tell me, he's like, look, with a little bit more money, you can get your gear, you can get your natural like tone a lot better. And I'm just sort of very defensive. I just think that like
You've always been that gear oriented.
yeah,
It really is his like inner jazz elitist, like, and you gotta respect it at that point. Like, as much as I could be like, just buy a better amp. It's a good idea. Like the idea of like, like, yeah, I could buy better gear, but I could also spend all that time and money on just being a better guitar player, and I'd rather just do that. I'm like, yeah.
No, but I will say that recently I've come to accept that like gear is huge. You just can't ignore it. And this next album that we're working on, we're trying to do it at a sort of professional studio, take our time with it, use like the gear that
Freeman and
yeah, exactly, like nice amps, and I bought a lot of pedals. We did use a whammy pedal in Death by Dying, so
Yeah, that was fun.
we're slowly, because originally I was like no pedals at all, like pedals are a cop out, but it was like very, very extreme and elitist of me.
I think he was also traumatized a little bit by like that guitar player he used to play with that you told me about, like who had a pedal board with like 30 pedals on it, and he'd spend the entire practice just fucking with his pedals and run through the songs once.
Steve? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. He did have some sweet pedals.
Yeah, Steve
though.
does.
Yeah.
those at.
Yeah.
He was
But-
awesome.
Yeah, no, in my last band, it was like, because it was that kind of shoegazy
Oh,
thing
fucking.
where people have like,
Oh,
$5,000 worth of pedals.
Yeah.
And they're like, what are the chords again?
He had like
literally 2 chords.
He had like Nick Reinhardt's pedal board and literally would just strum once, and then the rest was just pedal.
Yeah.
And then,
Which is
Play one note,
fine.
you only resonate for 30 seconds.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so I was like turned off by that. And then I think I just didn't want to use like any kind of gear as like a crutch. So I was like, we should play like in standard and use like sort of just shitty gain from like the 90s and like play as fast as we can or like as intricately as we can. And then that way we won't like lean on anything. But having said that, I literally just bought $500 worth of pedals
Jesus.
and a string. So
You wait, Tony.
no, so
Bought a pedal.
what?
You bought not a pedal. You bought pedals.
Dude, this whole thing is my new pedal rack. This is my pedal shelf. I only have one on here now, but I have a bunch coming in the mail.
I don't know who you are anymore.
Holy shit! Wait, you got pedals coming?
Hey, is this real? Is this real?
Fucking year.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
So, what's the main lyrical inspiration?
Sorry?
I'm sorry, what?
I didn't catch that.
You asked what inspiration?
Like for content or like
No, like like the lyrical content. Where do y'all get your inspiration from?
What did Tyler say?
Daddy issues, sexual frustration.
No, that's not wrong. Yeah, I mean, we like Cool Spring was all over the place lyric wise, and like Tyler and I would sit down and like sort of create stories about people that weren't us, but had some sort of their like narrative had some sort of like meaning or some sort of like concept that we were trying to address. I feel like we rarely write from a personal experience. We did more in Death by Dying, and it's a lot of sort of a hybrid of maybe a little bit is personal, but it's mostly we're trying to create a fictional character to try to convey. We'll have sort of like just more emotive songs that are really just not trying to say anything societal or it's mostly just talking about, dealing with loss or dealing with drug abuse, a lot of drug abuse stuff. And then we'll have songs that are more about like, group identity and like impending fascism and just the stuff that we talk about. Yeah.
Especially now, it seems like a lot of people are doing more political stuff because of everything that's happening.
Oh yeah, not to.
We've been doing it since.
We've been doing this.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's just like, I'm like, when are we gonna stop?
Yeah. No,
I feel like it's a bit of a deviation from like typical inspiration because like Tony's saying, like most of the songs are like from the perspective of one hypothetical individual, and it's like a very it's usually like a personal narrative, and it's usually intended as like an insight to like the darkest parts of certain people's minds and like an expression of that, rather than like, you'll hear a band talk about like one political issue and it's like systemic effects of it, or like, a feeling that like most people can identify with, but like Needle Play, it's a lot more specific and a lot more detailed. Like, I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, and we try to bring it back to ourselves at least some, because it feels a bit alien to write something that's completely divorced from your own experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have a song on Death by Dying that's called Salem, and it's about a blacksmith in New Hampshire that I met. I don't really know anything about him, but I made this whole backstory up about how he's like obsessed with his craft and like the trials that he overcame and sort of transferred that hardship into his work. And it's on paper just about him, but like we were trying to use that as like our own, a metaphor for like our own relationship with like this band. Our music. So it's like, I don't know, I'm trying to have a bit of it be like representative of what we're going through, but not overtly.
Right, that's about how I do it too. Just take a little bit of reality, but stretch it a little bit, make it more interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Because our life is boring. I can't. I'd have like
Dude, legit. If we wrote songs about our lives,
we have 2 songs. We have a 2-track EP. Yeah, exactly.
On a toilet. Yeah.
like we do the same shit almost every day.
A lot of people that I meet that I find really interesting, it's not so much that they've had interesting lives, it's that they can like say they have a lot of interesting ideas and like concepts about interpreting just the boring, benign world that we all live in. And so like, I don't think you necessarily have to have like an interesting life to be able to like write about something interesting.
Right, and that you can like have an interesting life and do lots of interesting things with your life, and still be an insufferably boring person.
Yeah.
Right? Like you went skydiving, that's great. You don't have a fucking personality yet, and shut up about it.
Like astronauts will like go into space and live in space for like 18 months.
Yeah.
And it's like, he was cool, eh? He was lovely up there. You're like, that's all you have to say about it.
You just went to fucking space. I think it's America's fault. Really, I blame the system. Like, why are you sending uninteresting people to space?
Yeah.
Really,
They're nerds to steal people.
I think, yeah.
When you hit the fan, they're not going to react, or they're going to react in a boring way and live.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm sure your music isn't just being pulled from thin air. What are some of y'all's influences? I could definitely tell the number 12 Looks Like You is probably a big one, but what are some others?
Honestly, we listen to like Jonathan and I, we love like just like smash your face against the wall, just deathcore and hardcore stuff. But like for this, listen to like a lot of jazz, like weird like classical music from like the early 20th century.
Like modern classical music that's like really discursive and nasty and like weird tonal.
Yeah, exactly. And then I don't know. I mean, we have there's no limit to the amount of bands that we. The cool thing about this project is that we're trying to incorporate a lot of genres. So we can be listening to anything and be like, oh, how do we like integrate this into our sound? Like there was a song on Cruel Spring where we were trying to do like a Disney soundtrack, like yeah. And so it's like it just sounds like something out of Frozen, but like it to be like sort of subversive because the next song comes in. Smashes your face.
Yeah.
I like the newer stuff. There were a couple of parts that definitely screamed some like System of a Down influence, which.
Yeah, no, I love. Honestly, I'm like pretty basic when it comes to metal. I love like System of a Down and like early Slipknot, and I like a lot of like any band that we tour with or like. A lot of bands that are out now, like Portrayal of Guilt.
Oh yeah,
I love those guys. But yeah, I still listen to System of a Down and Deftones. He loves Deftones. So
he has a white pony tattoo. Flash it.
People think it's a Mustang from Ford Mustang. They're like, yo, nice Ford Mustang tattoo.
Oh, that sucks. Oh, side note about Deftones. Has anyone ever heard the Change in the House of Flies? But the vocals
Oh,
for
the
Toxic by Britney Spears are over it.
Amazing.
I saw. Yes, I heard that.
It's like an unironical bop.
Yeah. Honestly, I'd probably.
No, it was awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty.
That's the best one of those mashups I've ever heard.
Thought I could get one person to exhale out of their nose with that joke.
So you guys have toured in the past. How many tours have you guys done?
I just think one. We went
Just
with
the Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Device.
Black Matter Device and Noises, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was amazing. It was the most fun I've ever had in my adult life.
Oh,
yeah. That he couldn't go. He was in school, which sucked.
Oh, dude, that sucks.
Yeah.
Dude, those guys are on like another level of cool. I felt inferior to them the entire tour. They were just they blew me away.
Yeah.
You got any crazy
Their
tour
music
stories?
too, but just like as people.
No, that's the thing. Like, we're all pretty tame. It was just like the kinds of conversations and like personalities that you would interact with. Like Michael Toney, he's a guy from
Fucking
guy's hilarious. And
Great.
yeah, just I got to sleep right next to him on the Matt's basement floor, so I feel like we're best friends now.
Yeah. Tony went out after he like spent the night with Mike. He really like had a newfound love for the boy, like real love. He was like, I just want to like go on a date with him to the mall and like frolic through the mall and like point and laugh at all the stupid people that we hate.
I was very jealous about that, but he's like,
Yeah.
What's the weirdest place you guys have ever played?
ooh. We played at some weird places.
Pete's mom's party.
Yes.
Breast cancer
We
benefit.
played at a
No
restaurant.
way.
Literally, everyone hated our music. It was all like AC/DC fans and shit. And then there was this one like 4-year-old girl dancing for the entire set.
We kids. We just had like little.
There were little kids. It was like a family event. It was like
Running around.
totally not the place.
They were the only. Yeah, it was crazy.
Y'all have footage of that?
We did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on Instagram.
Like literally a 4-year-old girl hardcore dancing in
Yeah.
the middle of a fucking like
Tyler
club.
screaming, like, "You want to die?" Line in her face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, open this pit up.
Yes. It's actually amazing.
But I mean, we've just played at so many places where we are not what people came to see, like remotely. Just like indie bands with like a girl with like a ukulele, and then we come on with our crazy shit. Even a lot of metal bands where they like all know each other, and it's like a very sort of formulaic, like, this is what we play, this is our subculture, this is the genre that we do, and then we come in like we played in front of was it Traders?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
But we're just not at all with the people.
Yeah.
Like the people there, they just wanted to like hurt something,
Yes.
and they were there like smash their head against other people's heads.
That's like no, I know introverts and people are
Dude, it's my favorite. Like I like have a lot of friends in the hardcore scene that love bands like Bane and Knock Loose and that kind of stuff. And they're like, yeah, dude, I'm so pumped to come to your show. Really, I've never heard you guys before, but I swear I'm gonna throw down. Like, these are so hard. And then we go on, and they're like, yeah, I didn't really know where the like breakdown was. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do that. I'm like,
And then just rolling like white dress shirts and
The
like
piano.
Jonathan's playing like a sonata to get us started. And, like,
yeah.
what the fuck is this? That's awesome. Well, like, there's not a huge mathcore scene yet, you know. Like, give it a couple of years, and then we'll be the cool kids.
That's all I care.
Yeah. Dude, fuck musical integrity. I just want popularity. I want to make it big. I want to be on Kiss 108.
would be terrible at it.
Yeah, I'm losing. But
So y'all are in the middle of recording your next album, Townie. About how far along you guys?
30 tracks.
Damn.
So like right now we're doing
It's just one song that's like 10 hours long.
Yeah. It's a prog rock. Yeah. But right now we're like we haven't even written all the material yet. We're still in the drafting. Typically what we've been doing in the past is we write a ton of songs and then we whittle it down to like something more cohesive. And so I'm just like shitting out material, and so is Jonathan.
Fecal material.
But yeah, and we're like, first we'll just like program drums to just get an idea of like what the sound is going to be like, and then
Thank you, Jonathan.
yeah.
Oh.
I used to do that. He started taking over. So
Just lost Tyler. Oh, there we go.
I just got a notification. I thought it might be like, someone telling me that like a family member died, and I got scared.
Jesus.
But it was just Tony telling me that he can't.
I get like 400 notifications a day. It's like, oh my god, who's
But
dead?
it was just Tony telling me he can't hang out tomorrow. Which to me is like equally heartbreaking.
As a family member dying, damn. Either not close with your family or you're too close with me.
Probably both.
Yeah.
I prefer the latter.
We're trying to record at Kevin, was it Andreasen? And Tracy, I always get his name wrong. But we're trying to do the full sort of sonic works with him and use all of his amps and have him mix and master everything. So like mostly because of time and like budgeting, it's just going to take a while for us to just get the money to pay for that, because we pay for everything out of pocket. Well, no shit. We don't have like a.
What are some of the bands he's worked with before? I'm not familiar with them.
No, so he was in Dillinger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was their like other guitar player next to Ben.
I want to know one band. He did Foxy Shazam's album, which is like an insanely talented band that, I mean, you could call them Diet Queen, but they're also just amazing. Really flamboyant, really like theatrical. And
Number 12's new album, which like was just
that's
insane.
Yeah.
That one. And he's the best producer, especially for mathcore, because he was in a mathcore band, so he understands like sort of the tones you're looking for. He's
like the only mathcore professional.
Yeah, honestly, I strongly recommend. And it's
it just made way too much sense.
And so we're trying to move out of like our DIY space and do something a bit more professional.
Yeah.
Okay.
It also definitely helped that he lived like right beneath a hole in the wall sub shop that would do like bangers and mash subs and things of that nature.
Bangers and mash subs? That sounds weird. Yeah. Like just beans and like weenies in a bun?
No, bangers and mash is like sausages and potatoes. It's an Irish thing.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So are there any
Yeah, that's bangers and mash. Yeah. The bangers and mash are definitely integral. You just record it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
there any
tried to like Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. What is y'all's favorite albums so far of the year?
Ooh, I think the Leached album.
That was amazing.
To Dull the Blades of Your Abuse.
Yeah.
They're like a super bleak hardcore band. I listen to that album all the time. I don't know where Tyler went, but I think
I'm still here.
Let me pull up the name of it, but there was an album I think that was very important to where I think I want to go.
I've been listening to such boring
shit. I remember it. I just recently listened to it.
Oh, and Tigran.
Yeah, it was a
Tigran's new album.
Yes, The Call Within by Tigran Rossi.
Yeah.
He's an Armenian piano player that experiments with meter and does sort of like these big, sort of almost folk jazzy, like dissonant soundscapes. And it's all, it's just piano, singing, and really interesting drums. That's probably my favorite album that I've listened to.
That album is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Is this all? Sure. Wait, is this like mathcore only?
No, this is not
is
even
just like whatever.
jazz.
Yeah.
I listened to Hum just came out with a new album.
Who?
Hum, they're a band that's kind of like Deftones. They were a band that just released the first album. It's like 1999. That's pretty kind of jamming that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this band, if we're not strictly mathcore, there's this band, Holy Fawn, that just came out with a 3-track called The Black Moon. That's absolutely amazing if you're into like shoegaze and post-rock.
I actually heard of them.
And Wilsiax hasn't come out with it yet, but they're going to be coming out with an album soon, and that is going to blow my dick off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some guys, they live in New Hampshire, so they're like sort of our neighbors, but they're phenomenal. Like the coolest.
They're amazing dudes.
Just sonically terrifying. It's like
So
you're
weird.
like drunk in a haunted house and you're being like chased by like cat or ghosts, and you have an erection.
Yeah, they put like pedals on the
Yeah.
mix. They manipulate the entire mix with pedals.
Yeah, no,
It's
awesome.
crazy.
Their guitar player has 2 separate pedal boards running into a jazz chorus on top of an Ampeg V4.
Do not break out.
Well, their EP was awesome, so looking forward to the full length. Holy crap!
Well,
I don't know if it's a full length. I think it's an EP, but the fuck do I know?
So did you guys put out physicals of the EP at all? Is it just the downloads?
No, not yet. We do have. I don't know if we're like partnering with someone, and we're gonna go halfsies on the. We're trying to do a vinyl press.
Oh, nice. Alrighty. Y'all have like shirts and merch and stuff?
Yeah, no, we have shirts. It's on our Bandcamp.
Was it?
Instagram.
I didn't even see like a merch tab for you guys on your Bandcamp.
Probably not on Bandcamp anymore. But I have a bunch of shirts like just in my basement collecting dust. So if anyone
Well, shit,
wants,
man, put them on Bandcamp.
yeah.
It should be on Bandcamp. Should be.
Dude, COVID screwed because we were doing a lot of shows and that's where we would sell our merch. We didn't do a lot of like online sales, and COVID kind of like totally fucked us up in that regard. So that's why we didn't have like because honestly, we were selling the shirts, like we kept running out of stock. We were like, actually like, I was getting into the shirt business. This is actually sustainable, much more sustainable than like Spotify plays. But yeah, we would sell just like playing random basement shows. But then COVID happened, and yeah, we haven't adjusted clearly.
we're starting to talk about like bringing back like small socially distant shows over in my area. I live in like a basement venue type house, and we're talking about like doing live sessions and stuff with like people sitting in couches like far away. But obviously it won't be the same as like a real show, but we're kind of like, well, this could be the next best thing, you know?
Right? It's at least something, right?
Yeah.
Do you play shows, Chris?
I haven't yet, but COVID willing, I hope to tour next year. So we'll see what happens.
Man, yeah. Are you gonna find musicians, or are you just gonna do everything?
I was thinking of just doing everything on my own.
Really?
Nice.
Hey, more power to
So you're
you.
just gonna play guitar and like scream, and then have like backing tracks?
Yeah, so I've had a couple of solo projects, just like brutal death metal stuff, you know, and so I've done some shows by myself before. This one will have a lot of backing tracks though, so not sure how that's gonna work out. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there was a band in Baltimore it was a guitar player. It's like Euclid C.
Euclid C Finder, yes, they're fucking amazing.
They were amazing. And they just had like a ton of backing tracks, and they had a guitar player and then vocalist, and it worked really well. They put on a great show. People were really digging them. So
nice. You have stuff like Putrid Pile and stuff that's just big in the scene. So I feel like it could work out.
yeah.
What's up?
So is there anything else you guys want to add? Anything you want to plug?
Noise says coming out with an album soon. Definitely get on that. Again, Wilsiacs. I mean, if you're there's like a ton of people are, especially in like the death of Dillinger, people are like, oh, like there are no bands like this anymore, but there are bands like doing insane shit if you know where to look.
Right.
Mathcore Index has been paramount in that exploration. But
I mean, if you want to find any new awesome bands, following Mathcore Index.
Yeah, I think they're the only reason why we are still a band.
Dude, me too, 100%.
Yeah, we had absolutely no niche, no following, nothing. And then Mathcore like just mentioned us once in one of their podcasts, and it like changed our whole perspective on like just being able to do this.
Yeah, helped us out a lot.
All right, I owe a lot to Christian as well.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Chris.
So people can find you on like Facebook and Instagram, Twitter. I assume you guys are on Spotify. Any other like social media things y'all were trying to plug?
Yeah, as far as I know, we are on Facebook, Bandcamp, SoundCloud. Surprisingly, found that out. YouTube,
Grinder.
Nah.
Yeah.
Mostly on Grinder. Really active on there.
Very active.
We're on Plenty of Fish. We're actually sponsored by Bumble.
Yeah.
Oh, they said it? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're also sponsored by Wendy's. Wendy's, our ice cream machine works. That's what we say before every set.
Yeah, no, I mean, hopefully we'll be playing shows in the next year or so. But I mean, for right now we have Death by Dying, Cruel Spring, instrumental version of Death by Dying, and we'll probably be getting the talent somewhere in like 2021.
I assume your Bandcamp is needleplay.bandcamp.com.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Instagram needleplay haha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. That was great. The little haha at the end. I guess Needleplay's taken on Instagram then?
Yeah.
No, you just wanted to add in the haha at the end.
I was like,
oh no, Needleplay. No, the kink was.
Yeah, the kink, like
Yeah.
the regular Needleplay. It's like actual.
Yeah, and check out the actual art of Needleplay. Very interesting, very erotic, but also.
Like try it. Like try it with your partner.
Yeah.
Nice sophomore.
Or partners. I don't know if you're more than.
Well, as for me, please please follow my channel so you know when I go live. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. YouTube folks, if you like the video, please drop a like, subscribe, tickle that notification bell. Check out my music, The Sound That Ends Creation, dropping a new album October 2nd, Memes, Dreams, and Flying Machines through Dark Trail. So thank you, Needleplay, for being here, and I hope you guys had a good time.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thank you so
Thanks
much,
for having
Chris.
us.
And thanks
awesome
to
title, by the way.
Yeah.
of what? Oh, my album.
Memes, Dreams, and Flying Machines. Can you name the sequel? Vladimir the Inhaler, Asthma Attack, Paddywhack.
I will look into that. What was it again?
Right. Vladimir the Inhaler and the Asthma Attack, Paddywhack.
Dude, I will seriously consider that. So thanks everybody for watching this and for listening.